Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks again for being here. Um, we'll talk a little bit today about once again, some events that's in my life that's been going on lately. Um, how many of us know that we live in a time right now where influence or being an influencer is an actual occupation? It's a job now. People are making a lot of money, and I mean not people. I mean everyday individuals. And let me say this: influence or being an influence is not new. Anytime you deal with marketing and in the advertisements and things of that nature, it's all was designed to be an influence. We've seen where celebrities have influenced cultures. Uh, Music has influenced cultures. It influences how we dress, how we speak, what we desire in life, because we're influenced by it intentionally by marketing or what others want us to believe or think to benefit them. Okay, so it's not new. We've dealt with this. We deal with it every day. There's so many subliminal messages that are being sent that are marketing us intentionally. But what I'm talking about today is because of the advancements of technology, more specifically social media, the everyday individual through, uh, once again, social medias have created an occupation of being an influencer. Okay? It is a big deal. I was reviewing a book today. People are even writing books right now for parents on how to understand what's going on because this type of occupation and this new wave is geared towards the younger generations. Those in my generations are not necessarily, well, I take that back, yes, we are. But they're targeting younger individuals are growing up now and they're deciding, what, I want my career to be an influencer. They're making it's like I want to be an engineer, or I want to be an architect, or I want to be a cosmetologist. I want to be a truck driver. I want to be an influencer. Hear what I'm saying? They're making it, or it's being pushed as an actual occupation that technically doesn't require any schooling or training. Anyone can get on a YouTube channel and create a content for someone to follow and give them information for their benefit or the benefit of others. Hear me. Where am I going with that? Well, there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun. What has been will be again. This was occurring in the biblical days. This is, if we go to 1 Kings 11, 1 through 4, I want to talk about King Solomon. It says, now King Solomon loved many foreign women. Besides Pharaoh's daughter, he married women from Moab, Ammon, Edom, Sidon, and from among the Hittites. Now, mind you, the Lord had clearly instructed the people of Israel, you must not marry them because they will turn your hearts to their gods. They will turn their hearts to their gods. Yet, Solomon insisted on loving them anyway. He had over 700 wives of royal birth and 300 concubines. And in fact, they did turn his heart away from the Lord. In Solomon's old age, they turned his heart towards worship of other gods instead of being completely faithful to the Lord, his God, as his father David had been. He was influenced over time. They say in his old age, David was influenced to worship other gods. Once again, we're talking about an influence. My question today is, are you an influencer? You know, about a year ago, I created a message, uh, and it was titled "Who or What is Influencing You?" That whole concept was, who are you following? What are you allowing? Just like we talk about here, what was influencing Solomon? My comment, my question was to you: who or what is influencing you? Why do you do what you do? Are you even paying attention to why you do what you do? Hear me? Are you subliminally uh, relinquishing your thoughts, your time, your matter, everything you do based on what marketing and wants you to believe, or what marketing wants you to partake of? Um, are you an influencer? So you know, there's examples throughout history, throughout biblical commentary, that many good and negative influences. I gave you a negative one. There's many more negatives. Um, you know, of the Israelites following other gods, worshiping other gods, being influenced by the influences of their day to go against what they know is right. You know, sometimes we know better. You know, I was having this conversation earlier about you know, we use that term loosely, but we know better. Sometimes we do things that we know we ought not to do. We fail open book tests. And why? That's the question. Why? Who influenced you? But my question today is, are you the influencer? We've been going through some exercises corporately at my job, and you know, we're training our leadership intentionally to not be what's the word? To not focus on commanding and controlling people, and we're leaning towards them being influencing and collaborating. It's very strategic. Um, I'm gonna give you an example. Um, you know, in my generation and the generations before me, a lot of the training we received was, or direction we received was, do as I say, not as I do. Do what I told you to do, regardless of if I'm doing it or not. Um, and it was more of, do it because I said so. Command and control. Now, mind you, um, I grew up in that world, and my parents grew up in that world. Culturally, we all grew up in that world. Most of us grew up in that world where it was command and control. As you know, nowadays, and I can speak from my upbringing with my children, that didn't always work. And see, what I found, this is what I found. As an influencer, I was trying, in a lot of ways, doing command and control and not focusing on the influence and collaborate. Lo and behold, what your children or those that you are leading, what they typically do is they follow you. You know, this whole concept of do as I say, not as I do, doesn't work. It never did. It never did. What I found is my children and those that I've led, what I did, they mimicked it. So regardless of what I said, if it was worth doing, then I would have been doing it. So that's what they were going to do. What I found as I'm maturing in this thing, and I'm in the next stage of leading my children, not raising, but leading them now because they're grown. I'm leading them, which you never stop leading them. They're always looking for that model. I'm still modeling what their next stage in life looks like. So I have to continue at all times, as I understand it now, being an influencer and modeling what it looks like. Despite what I said, they do what they see me do, or they're acting out or walking out what they saw me do, what they saw what their upbringing looked like. Hear me? It's a classic. It's a classic conversation. You know, if you grew up in a household and Potato salad is a big thing in certain cultures, and you've got many different variations of potato salad. People write jokes about it and we talk about it, but who's bringing the potato salad? It's a serious question for us because potato salad, we don't like to play around with our versions of potato salad. See, I'm a mustard based guy. I like the yellow potato salad. If it's white, if it's mayonnaise based, for me, because that's where I was raised. You know, so that's how I was raised, and that's what was modeled before me. That's what I tend to like. No knock on the mayonnaise guys. The Miracle Whip guy, no knock on you. But I'm a mustard guy. I like my potato salad to be yellow. Okay? You got to understand that my children grew up in my household. We had yellow potato salad. You got to understand that in their mind, what they saw and what they grew up in was yellow potato salad. So, of course, they're going to tend to favor yellow potato salad also. Same thing with dressing. I'm a cornbread dressing guy. I'm that sweet dressing guy. I grew up with Jiffy, and some people don't like that. I get it. But you see where I'm going with this thing. They're going to do what they saw you do. If you're struggling with your leadership or those are up or leading those up under you, you're not accomplishing what you need, you might want to question yourself. Scripture says you determine or you judge the tree by its fruit. You know what kind of tree it is by the fruit it produces. You can tell people all day, I'm an apple tree, and I produce the best apples, and this is what blah, blah, blah. But if you're producing oranges, they see you. They see you. If you find yourself in conflict with your leadership, your child, you just button heads all the time, you think it could be because they're just like you? Could it be that you're telling them to do this or do A, and they're bucking it and they're doing B because even though you say do A, they watched you do B? And that's where the head is. Quite honestly, if we want to be real in this world today, in which I'm going to say this, those that we're leading nowadays, the younger ones, there's a time out for them listening. This is a show me generation. Whether you like it or not, show me. Because they've heard us talk for a very long time. They watched us. We've been influencing them whether you like it or not. Whether you say this or not, they're being influenced by what you're doing. They're going to mimic what you do. You're going to judge the tree by the fruit. Hear me. Okay, enough of that. I'm saying all that to say, how do you model, or how do you manage, or how do you lead people? You lead people by you influencing them. Whether you like it or not, influence is always been here, it's always going to be. It's going to be the most productive thing you can do is to model for your people, model for your leadership, model for your household, model for your job. Hear me. My job at work is to model what this thing looks like. Despite who likes me, despite if they like how I do it, I am to model it. You are the model in your household. You are the influencer in your household, whether you're influencing good or bad. Jesus was the ultimate influencer. That's where we learn how to model. That's what we learn. If you look through Scripture, you read through Scripture, you can see where Jesus never made anybody do anything they didn't want to do. He didn't command and control. He walked it out. He showed you what this thing looks like. He took 3 years of his life and he walked through the disciples to model what he wanted them to do once he was gone. Hear me. There was command and control throughout history. Pharaoh is the ultimate command and control guy. Hear me. Hear me. The pharaohs and the kings of the ultimate, they were all the ultimate command and control. Jesus came in and did something totally different. Now, there was negative ways to influence. You can once again, you can influence from a negative perspective and you're going to get negative results. And sometimes it's intentional. Hear me, guys. Don't be fooled. Don't think that we're not being influenced right now, or the attempts are not being made to influence us right now. It's there. It's the world we live in. We won't talk about that today, but this whole world is designed to influence us to go down the paths that they want us to go. But Jesus came along and said, how about I model? I need you and everyone to do it this way. So therefore, I'm not just going to tell you what to do. Once I tell you, I'm going to walk it out. He did it for 3 years. He showed all the disciples how to do this thing in preparation for when he was going to be leaving. He was the ultimate influencer. Hear me. He didn't just talk it. He did it. He didn't just talk about how, the poor will be with us always. He said they're going to be with us always, but let's feed them. He didn't talk faith. He had action with it. He modeled to us what these things look like. Okay, so my question today, in conclusion, are you an influencer? Let me answer that for you. Yes, you are an influencer. But are you influencing the right thing? Are you just a talker with no action? Are you just a talker with no action? Are you faith without works? Because faith without works is nothing. Hear me. Who are you? What are you modeling? I'm just trying to make us aware of what our goal is here. Don't think you're not being an influencer. You are. But is it good? Hey guys, I want to take 3. I'm going to say this. I had a meeting yesterday, and it was a business meeting. I was at a meet and greet introduction. We were in a coffee shop, and we were sitting there. We were thoroughly engaged in the conversation. And lo and behold, a gentleman walked up to us and looking for money so that he can get something to eat. And, we both proceeded to tell him that, what, I don't have any money. And we didn't. I know I didn't. Didn't have any cash on me. But he's kind of like agitated that, we weren't giving him money. So I said, well, if you want something to eat, I'll go buy you something to eat. He's like, okay. So we go up to the counter. Now, mind you, from the looks of it, he was homeless. From the sound of it and everything else, there was some mental things going on. But I am not the one to believe that it was just a mental issue. Heck, we all have mental issues. We all have dysfunctions. Hear me. Don't think you're excluded. We all have dysfunctions, some to greater degrees than others. Okay, but this individual, wasn't just a natural thing; it was a spiritual thing. I can tell that there was some possession there, and you'll see what I mean afterwards. He was very agitated. He was very animated. He was, wasn't loud and obnoxious, but he couldn't stand still. He had to pace. He was moving back and forth. He was mumbling and having conversations amongst himself. He was being belligerent, but politely belligerent. He wasn't loud, but he was cursing. It's all this thing on. And I'm standing here. He's there going back and forth. Okay, I want this and I want that. And he put his stuff on the counter. And I'm watching him, controlling the situation. I'm like, okay, I'll do this, but I'm not doing that. He's like, okay. So I tell the barista, I'm paying for his food. And they were uncomfortable. And I could tell at hindsight, I could see that everybody in the room was uncomfortable, other than myself, because they would have preferred that he just go away. I wasn't even thinking about it. It was just a blur to me. I knew that I was having a conversation. I saw the need. I got up and dressed it, and eventually came back to the table and continued my conversation. But after I paid for the gentleman's food, I stopped and turned around. I said, "By the way, what's your name?" And it was this is what it. He turned to me, and we're looking dead in each other's eyes. I'm looking into his eyes. I said, "What is your name?" And he did like this. He said, I don't know. I'm like, okay. Well, you have a blessed day. Paid for his food. I went and sat back down, and he waited. Meanwhile, there was a lot of animation going on. I'm saying all that to say, we're talking about being an influencer. Now, I don't know what the people around me saw. I honestly don't know what my client or my meet and greet colleague thought. We didn't talk about it. I did that. I don't know how much he paid attention to, but I'm quite sure he did. I wasn't even cognizant of what was going on. Actually, it was kind of rude. But I know that somebody was watching what I was doing. I was influencing someone, even though it wasn't my intention. I wasn't doing this for, please hear me. I wasn't doing this to be a Mr. Goody Two Shoes or be all wonderful. I wasn't even thinking about it. I realized after the fact what I just did and how rude it was to my client. But I don't regret it. My point is, it had an influence. The outcome, I may never know. Nor am I looking for it. But I'm going to say this about that young man. Guys, I could have been entertaining an angel. The one that everybody wanted to kick out. And honestly, in the past, I've ignored that type of thing. Once again, I'm not all that wonderful. But I'm thankful that I took the time to be that example and be the model that we're talking about. Being an influencer. Being an influencer. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what Christ would have done. That's what Christ would have done. So, are you an influencer? Who are you influencing? Mind you, if I had done nothing, I would have influenced everybody else in the room that nothing was the right thing to do. And I've done that before.